Hello everyone and welcome to a new Mass Effect Andromeda video. In this video I want to propose a gold solo, full random gold solo with the human soldier. I'm putting all my points in combat fitness, health and shields, aerial evasion, and also increased damage resistance when my health is below 33%. Then I put all my points in, well, first the frag grenades, because this is going to be interesting for armored enemies only. It's very powerful. And then munition training, because I want increased damage output. I don't know which faction I'm going to get, so I want to be prepared for, well, everything. And then concussive shots. Unfortunately, I can't really put points in this for now, but I want to have as many shots as possible. Unfortunately, I can't do that, so I'm just putting some points, it's going to be useful. I'm going to use cryo ammunition, though it's probably not the best choice, of course. Disruptor rounds are far better, but I like to use them because otherwise I never do. I think it's sometimes very useful to do that, to use cryo ammunition with soldiers. Especially if you have objectives like hack or upload, because you can freeze, obviously, the enemies. I'm not using weapons that are really great for priming enemies with cryo ammunition, but right now it's just increased damage output that I'm interested in. I'm using siphon weapons. Well, I don't play enough Mass Effect Andromeda to try non-siphon weapon. So the map I got was Firebase Aqua. Usually I prefer the daylight version.
You know the drill. Hold this position, clear out enemy forces. Let's do it.
Isn't this great?
The night version, I think, is it reminds me of the first time I tried to solo this map. This was the gold special mission on this map. The gold special mission that introduced this map. And gee, it's not something I like to remember anyway. Yeah, so I got the Remnant faction. I told myself cool, because the Sovoa is expressly designed for destroyers. It's a very useful weapon insofar as you can deal area damage. For the rest, I usually like to take the Crusader. Again, because it's useful either short range or long range, What makes the Crusader interesting is that on many occasions it has been described as a mixture of a sniper rifle and a shotgun, depending on the modifiers you use on this weapon. But I'm not using it this way, so sometimes you'll see me using the Sovoa because otherwise it's a weapon I never use. With a human soldier, I think it's good because you have increased weapon damage thanks to the build, and that's why soldiers are very great, especially for damage resistance. I think that's something which makes the soldiers formidable characters. They are perfect for flawless solos. This one is not flawless, I never expect random solos to be easy. Depending on the objective you have, of course, it's going to be difficult.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
But this 4 random solos in fact repeats because, well, if you've been in the loop recently, you know that I had some flash drive problems and that I lost many of the videos I wanted to share with you. So I had all these solos in the ready. I just had to add my voice on it and, say a few things here and there. Here, that's an instance of how frag grenades are very useful for crowd control, especially the spawns. If you can manage the spawns this way, then that will definitely make the wave easier. Because I lost all of my videos, I decided to reproduce my solo. Unfortunately, the enemy was not this one, it was the cat. And also a few things about the first solo, the solo that you'll never see, unfortunately. And I was quite proud of this solo because it was on a fire-based icebreaker. And I think I had one of these objectives that are famous for being a pain in the ass. But I can't remember which one, it's been so long now. It was also a solo in which I globally managed better, but still, the strategy is the same. You'll see me using damage resistance bonuses a lot. That means that basically I use evade a lot when I fight against the enemies. The combat fitness tree is what makes the soldier gorgeous, so you want to use it, that's really important. The second wave is almost over, I know that. The most difficult things with the first two waves, it's the fact that it has both breaches and nullifiers, and the two working together is sort of painful, but they were designed this way.
Good. Stay sharp.
Starting from wave 3, you'll have to confront destroyers. Each wave starting in wave 3. Of course, that's the wave when you have the objective, and of course, I had a hack. But that's still manageable with wave 3. Wave 3 on gold is not that difficult. It's really similar to wave 6 on silver, to be honest. So, wave 3 golds can be done very easily, and you see that in a moment. So, I used the area damage of the Sovoa to kill that nullifier, by the way. Otherwise, the Sovoa, when you shoot at the nullifier on the shields decrease the damage output of the Sovoa. But if you shoot right where the trunk of the nullifier is, then area damage will take care of it. And that's exactly what I'm doing with the destroyer as well. As you can see, I killed both its turrets very rapidly. And area damage of the Sovoa and the use of turbocharge is also a gorgeous power. You can do astonishing thing with this weapon, provided you have some way, you use all the means you have to increase weapon damage. Otherwise, it's going to be a little, feeble, especially on gold. I'm not talking about platinum because that build wouldn't work well, I guess. There's still this high percentage of luck, when playing multiplayer games like this. That was probably the easiest hack I ever had in a gold solo. Again, against the Remnant.
Got all the data.
I guess with other factions, this would have been a little different, because the Cat have the Ascendant. I don't think there's a Fiend though. Either way, even if you're fighting another faction such as the Cat or the Outlaws, as long as you kill the boss enemies, they won't respawn on wave 3. So, for example, the Ascendant is easily taken care of thanks to the Sovoa. The Sovoa has area damage, and area damage is useful against the orb. You just have to shoot at, the Ascendant, just point and click, really. That will deal damage to the Ascendant's orb, and eventually then you just have to use the Crusader and shoot the head as much as possible to get rid of the Ascendant.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
Same thing goes with the Berserker. If you can freeze them thanks to cryo ammunition, that's good. That slows armored targets a little bit, and also that increases damage done to the target as well. With the Crusader, you just have to, shoot twice, something like this, and your enemies will be dead on the ground. And then you just, have to hack the zone and take care of all the enemies that come to melee you, like Addes or Wraiths. And Breachers, of course, Breachers with the Remnant. Breachers are really annoying, aren't they? That's why they are still on Platinum. They included them on Platinum, with the Remnants on wave 4. I think they did that because it's an objective wave, and even though the Breachers, don't show up in other factions on Platinum matches, they're useful for this. On objectives they're really, really annoying. For all the objectives, really. Recovery, devices, they're so annoying for devices. And also all the objectives that implies that you stay in a zone, even for a little while, Thanks to the siphon weapons that I use, Sovoa, the area damage, the fact that the enemies tend to come together as groups of enemies, As long as they come in groups, I can use the Sovoa and deal area damage and use the siphon properties of my weapon to basically regenerate my health. So you see, the Sovoa is really good. Even at long distances, I can still shoot at the destroyer even from afar and deal damage to its weak points. That's good, And again, thanks to the siphon properties of this weapon, that makes gold so easy, really. At least that's something that Mass Effect Andromeda has, and that is very exclusive to Mass Effect Andromeda, these siphon weapons. I mean, they exist, they're here, so why not use them? I mean, except if you want, to take a real challenge, but I mean, this game isn't really worth it, really. I think it's a game that will be still played by people who want some aggressive gameplay against groups of enemies, the way I'm doing right now, for instance. Being able to deal such damage, using all the nice features of the game. Just enjoying the game. Mass Effect 3 had this challenge spirit, which I think is almost absent from Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. I don't know why, really.
guard up.
That was great.
It feels so bittersweet.
Enemies headed your way.
We gotta move.
And even from the start, you know, the first days I'd been playing this game,
Destroyer. Take cover. Lost my shield. Watch your six. Lost shield. Lost my shield.
and that was my first death. You know, shit happens all the time, doesn't it?
Careful, they got a destroyer. Lost my shield.
Remember, 2 destroyers on the field, that makes a huge difference. In fact, the only consumables I really happen to use with the human soldiers on random gold solos is rather the ammunition packs, thanks to the frag grenades. But if you run around the map, given that you have damage resistance and increased damage resistance when you evade, that's what combat fitness is all about. Then you can just, you know, move very rapidly around the map because you don't have really to worry about all the enemies shooting at you. You just, you know, move from one point to the other using cover as much as possible. You know, even if enemies shoot you, like, I don't know, saboteurs for instance, they can deal much damage to you with their pistols. When you are evading, this will decrease the damage you receive. That's why running away with soldiers or just, you know, dashing all the time, even when you're shooting, for instance, as I'm doing right now, using cover as, you know, a mean to not fall, then you're very powerful. I think damage resistance is decreased by a very, very impressive number.
Incoming fire. Lost my shield.
Well, I died there because of the nullifier. Nullifiers are in fact very annoying when they are all together and if they are not synced, you know, because they have a very quick recharge time on gold. So they, you know, keep shooting at you. That's the only thing they can do from afar. Basically, yeah, it's good to run away when you see 2 nullifiers at the same place. But I don't know. It was wave 5 and I had, well, 4 spare medigels. So I told myself, hell, I don't know, I want to urge the thing a little. Because the problem with running around is that basically, yeah, you lose time, you know. And that will extend the time of your solo.
The enemy's tapping into civilian comm traffic. We need to take out their uplink devices.
Copy that.
I try to crowd control the area around the device. At some point, I think it's the 3rd or 4th device. I think there was a destroyer, a nullifier, and a breacher at the same time. And that's something you don't want.
One device down.
Lost my shield.
The fact that the time for devices has been reduced, well, it was reduced a long time ago now, but I still remember it, the Mass Effect 3 way, when you had a global time for all devices. It was better because you had more time to do all the devices, and this was, I don't know, different. Anything can happen with devices, even on bronze, you know, if you cannot anticipate.
Hang in there, Apex.
Oh well, it went better than I expected.
Get down!
So yeah, the device, as long as you can crowd control all the area, that will go well, really. Just have to take care of the breachers because they come rather quickly to where you are, to your position. They can prevent you from doing your stuff. If you see breachers coming in as you are doing the device and you see clearly that you won't have the time to finish the device, just, you know, stop doing it and kill it as quick as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be painful because you lose time whenever it touches you. You know, there's this little animation of a couple of seconds, but well, I think it's like 1 second and 50 milliseconds or something like this. I don't really know in fact, but that's a very short animation that your character has whenever the breacher deals melee damage to you. The same rule goes with the nullifiers, but the great thing with the human soldiers is that they can use frag grenades to deal with the nullifiers very quickly. You just have to throw the grenade behind their shields, using the space in between to aim correctly. And when that's done, you know, the only enemy left that can be annoying is the destroyer with the device, because, well, they can kill you very rapidly. Sometimes you can't really anticipate on which path it's going to take, because sometimes, you know, they go through the textures and their turrets keep shooting all the time, so sometimes you don't see them coming. And you're doing your device and all of a sudden there's a destroyer coming off a roof. The destroyer just, you know, either melee you, so you die almost immediately, or their turrets, if they're far from you, their turrets just, you know, shoot at you relentlessly, and eventually you die and you're just doing your device, you know. That can happen in the 4 seconds required for the device. Yeah, it's just 4 seconds, but that can be the longest 4 seconds of all your Mass Effect Andromeda career. I have a solo like this, the N7 solo. I call it this way because I published it on November the 7th last year, 2018, with the Krogan Gladiator, and there was this device objective. I almost failed it because, well, there were berserkers and they kept meleeing me, and, well, you see with the Remnants, it's, well, it's a bit more peaceful because of all the good things that the human soldier can do. For example, when one nullifier is shooting at you, then you just have to dash at the very moment when the missile is going to hit you, and that's because you're using the evade ability of your character. Then the damage you receive will be reduced, and that can be really useful. The same thing goes with the breacher. Whenever it deals this melee damage I mentioned earlier, that triggers a very annoying animation, the very annoying animation I was talking about earlier. Then if you dash at the very right moment, then again that will first of all reduce the damage input. Second of all, that will also allow you to avoid this animation. So that was a random gold solo. Fire-based Aqua is very useful. It's big, so devices can be really boring, but still you can move very quickly using roofs. And if I had objectives like targets, that's even more interesting because, you know, you can not only move very rapidly, but you can locate the targets very rapidly and deal with them very rapidly as well. But it's very big, so it's not good for speedruns, in my opinion, still. So I hope you enjoyed this solo. I will be publishing the celebratory mission, the silver platinum mission against the Remnant very soon, so stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the like button, share if you want, and subscribe if you haven't already to have more Mass Effect Andromeda content. Thank you again, and have a great day. I Exalt out. Bye.